Hi guys, I am Crystal Sky and we're here with a review. I didn't do many of these, but I really wanted to review this palette. I got it off Amazon for 18 bucks. It was on sale. It's normally $21, I believe. So this is the artistrove paint palette, watercolor paint palette. This was the original packaging it came in. It's got 4 watercolors, 2 water brushes, and this packaging is pretty nice. I really like the way the painting's on it. The one downside is if you see here there's a little rip. I had really hard trouble getting it open. So I didn't even bother trying to open it on camera. I just could not for the life of me get this palette out of this box. So here's the back. It even has little instructions on how to fill the water brushes. And it's got a satisfaction guarantee on the back. I will be keeping this palette if you were curious. So we'll just move this over here. I'll throw it out later. So this here's the palette. It doesn't have much character, but you're an artist, so paint it up or add some stickers, which is what I'll probably do. So the box is pretty simple. It's got a little latch here on the back. It's like a beige off-whitish color, and it's got an opening thing here, which actually doesn't feel very secure. The opening to the box, I'm not sure if I threw this in my purse, if it would stay closed. So there's that. You could probably put something on there, but I didn't. Here comes my second problem. So I just opened it, right? And this is the paint wells to mix paint. It's not in there permanently, right? It fits in here and it sits down and it's nice, right? And it doesn't move around at all. But when you close it and you open back up again, it comes out. Which I'm not exactly sure why. It comes out pretty easily. And it doesn't get in the way for opening or closing. So I don't know why that would be open like that. So here are the colors. These are the 2 water brushes that came with it. They both sit in here like this. I really like this case. I actually have a ton of notes, so I might be referring to my notes over here. I really love this case. This is what I bought the palette for. The fact that it has all these wells up here, and it's got a place for 2 water brushes and all of these paints. Amazing. I love that. I have 2 other paint palettes. This is a Winsor & Newton watercolor palette. And the brush is only this little brush here, no water brush, which I rely on water brushes when I go out. The paints are amazing, it's Winsor & Newton, but it only has 3 wells. So that's my problem. That's one of the reasons why I got a new one. I also have a Koi Watercolors Pocket Field sketch box this here. I've heard this is a lot of people's favorite palette. 1, it doesn't come with a set of colors, so I made a thing of colors. 2, I really find this, people like this thing, I find it very annoying. Having to take it out and put it like on the side or something just drives me absolutely up the wall. I just want something up here. I don't want to have to clip it to different places, which I assume, and if you clip it here, you can't even get to the paints up top. There's a whole roll of paints you can't get to if you clip it up top. Really, you can only really clip it to the side and the bottom, which I would never clip it to the bottom because it's makes it really long, right? 2, I don't use the sponges in this very often, so I feel like it's wasted space. And 3, you have to take the water brush apart in this palette in order to have it in here. And I feel like it's a big waste of time. If I want to quickly water brush something, I just want to take the water brush out and color with it. In fact, I don't even keep my water brush in here anymore because it's such a hassle. So those are the reason why I got a whole new palette here. And why I chose this one, because I love the case and I love the fact that the inkwells are all up here, the mixing area, and everything like that. So let's get into the water brushes first. First we have 1 brush tip here, and 1 flat tip. I really like the fact that it's got 2 different tipped water brushes. These brushes can hold a ton of water, and they're very nice. There are 2 problems with the brushes. 1, The brushes squirt out a little bit too much water. The water control is a little odd. I have two other water brushes, one that came with my Sakura Koi palette and another one which is a Pentel. And the water just slowly comes out, like it slowly provides water. But with these ones, you really have to squeeze to get them going, and sometimes the water is a bit too much. So there's that. Let's see, the brushes are nice, they bounce back really well, and I really love the fact that they included a flat brush and not just two brushes with brush tips, because it just is really nice for providing a nice flat wash. The second problem with the brushes is that they're very hard to get open, but that's also a good thing, because you'll know that the water won't just flow out in the middle of you doing something and it won't just pop open and explode everywhere. So, two sides to that. So I love the brushes, I love the case. Now we're on to the paints. Honestly, the paints are the worst thing in this palette. So I've done a couple of swatches. It also comes with a mixer, kind of like color identifying thing here, which I love to carry around with me and actually know what the colors are. But some of the colors are not completely spot on, but I mean it gives you a good idea, which is nice. So let me get into my sketchbook here. Let me just put this to the side. So this is a Stillman & Byrne Delta Series watercolor sketchbook. I love this sketchbook, and this is what I do all of my watercolors in. So I have a couple of swatches, and by a couple I mean 4 pages, of different colors you can get. So these are all the swatches for the entire pan, compared to the swatches that they gave you. And I've labeled all of them with my micron. So as you can see, some of them are a little off, like the fluorescent green is actually lighter. The sky blue is a little lighter. Pretty much it's a difference for when they dry. It's like they took all these when they were wet. Peach Puff also a little lighter. Pretty much the colors are all a little lighter, and I just added enough water to pick up the paint. I didn't oversaturate or make a puddle or anything. So there's that. Problem with the paints, I have a list. So I've mixed different colors, 4 pages of mixing, lots of pages of mixing, and this is the first color in fluorescent green, and as you can see with some of these colors, they don't mix extensively. The paint colors either mix, you can't mix just a little bit of paint. If you mix, say I have the first color and fluorescent green, there's not much color variation there, right? Whereas with the Winsor & Newton, which I have tons of swatches of, the Winsor & Newton, let me see here, the yellow and the violet made this whole amount of different colors. But in the artistrove watercolors, it's like I couldn't get the paints to mix very well. There was not very many variations, and when you could get a variation, it immediately went away when any sort of balance wasn't hit. It has to be like the perfect balance between the two colors. So the paint quality is not best. I'll just show you as many swatches as I have here, because I have a lot. I really like to mix colors, and I was a little disappointed with the paint's color mixing capabilities, right? Here's what I'm talking about with the watercolors. It dripped too much, and I got a smear on the side there, which is fine. It's just a swatch page, but it's, yeah. Again, more swatches. You can see in I mixed bronze and yellow, and there was literally no variation. It was just brown, and that was all I could get out of it. The bronze, red, and ultramarine, the same. It was pretty much the same color variation. So these are 2 different pictures I did with it. This I did with a Micron 3. It was just a really quick sketch of a girl lying back, and there was a lot of shading and stuff here that went well. I did a light wash of the brown, and then I did a dark brown over it, and that turned out well. I got a good skin color with a bunch of shadows. I'm really proud of the way this turned out, and the paints turned out really nice. I can say a couple good things about the paints. The color that they come off the pan, right off, is very nice. And there's a lot of colors, so there's not a ton of mixing that you have to do. which is also very nice. This is also something I did with the artistrove. It's just almost like a concept landscape. I really like doing my landscapes this way. I'm not very good at landscapes, as you can see, but the gray is transparent and the blue shows through, which I really like. And I was also able to do a wash with a bunch of lines over it. So that's good. There's another bad thing about the paints. I would say that when you're going over, this is the brush I use to do my swatches because it's a nice even square brush and I just put it right down there. So I really like doing swatches with this brush, and I've had this brush for a while. I did all of my Winsor & Newton swatches with this brush as well. And I dip it in water, and when you go to pick up the paint, it is very hard to pick up these paints. I've picked up the Winsor & Newton just fine, the Koi watercolor paint just fine, but these artistrove paints are really hard to pick up with the brush. I'm not doing anything differently. It's just paint quality. It's just flat out paint quality. So the paint quality is not good at all. They'll work and I'll use them until they're gone, but when they're gone, I'm going to be refilling this palette with probably Winsor & Newton tubed paints, which I love Winsor & Newton paints. I get a ton of variety and I really like that. So I'm excited for that. So my conclusion, pros and cons. I paid $18 for this palette. Not a bad price. I paid $40 for this one, but I had a 40% off coupon, so that was fun. I think this one was about the same price. I bought this a long time ago, and I don't remember the price, but it was very expensive. I also bought this one with a coupon. So $18 is like nickels. I don't like the paints barely at all. I'll use them up until they're gone, but I wouldn't recommend buying the artistrove watercolor paints that are in here. I really like the case. There is a problem I think I mentioned with the wells. I don't know if I mentioned it or not. I don't think I did. When I first started using the wells, the paint was very liquidy and dribbly. Like, it didn't mix well at first, but when I worked with the palette a little bit more, it started mixing great. So it was almost like there was a covering on the wells that made the water bead. It doesn't do that anymore. As you can see, it's extensive use. Lots of paint and stuff on there. I clean out my wells a lot. I clean them out really well after I use them, so I never get like dried paint on it. As you can see, my wells are just discolored from the paints, but I never leave the paint sit in there over time, so I never get dried paint or anything, so it doesn't look extremely well used like some of the other artists I've seen. And so that went away with time, so it was really a negative aspect that went away almost immediately. I've used this palette for a couple days now, and I really like it. I'm definitely going to keep it. There's a guarantee in the back that says you can return it in 30 days if you don't like it. Let me turn that the correct way. And I'm going to keep it because it was 18 bucks and I love this case. So I feel like that's a good sacrifice. The paint's no good, but the water brushes are amazing. I really like them. Like I said, I've used different types of water brushes, and although they have their flaws, I really like the tips. So I really like having them in there. I like having all of my paints here with a lot of different wells. The wells are the pans are pretty deep. Let me show you. So this is under the white right there. These are the paints. They're dry, so I don't have to worry about picking them up too much. I don't use the white that much, so that's why I could pick them one up. Everything else is stuck in there good. And I also, another kind of off thing about this palette is these are a little hard to clean out. As you can see, they're more dirty than the other ones. But I like mixing in them, so I like having, because they're like their own little swatches. That's awesome. So all in all, I really, really like this palette. The design is pretty boring, but it's conceptually good, and I feel like it's very functional for me for what I'm looking for. So I would recommend if you have the same needs as I do, the fact that I don't like taking apart my water brushes, so I like having them in there and just going, oh, I'll just add some red to this, and I just take it out and use it, which is great. I also like the functionality of how many mixing wells it has up here. I like the amount of colors I have, and when the paint's done, I'm going to refill it with paints that I like. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'm just about 9 months into learning how to draw, 8.5 almost, and I love watercolors. I've used a ton of different watercolor palettes, and I find this one to be the most functional for me. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to subscribe down there, it's the big red button. I upload every Thursday night, Friday morning, somewhere around midnight. Learning to Draw Weekly, where I show all of my sketches, my watercolors, and my progress. I also have another channel where I play games and generally Blizzard games. So if you want to go down there and check that out, the link's in the description below, and I will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Bye.